Hey, I'm laughing because my wife's calling me a goober from the sidelines. And hey, I'm a goober. I'm a grandpa and I'm a goober. But, this is the eve of our independence. And, Kimberly and I always talk about Freedom Day. It's one of the most important things in this part of our life that we're aiming for in other people. See, we hit a Freedom Day a long, long time ago. As a matter of fact, we've had a couple of Freedom Days because we've had a few epic failures and had to start over again. But I happen to be sitting in one of my best and dearest friends of my entire life. We've been business partners in radio station and marketing companies, and we're still partners. This is somebody I trust with my life. And I'm out here in Des Moines, Washington, which is a suburb of Seattle, and I'm in Blake Messer's office. And Blake, scoot over here. I want my friends to see my friend. So Blake's going to scoot over here. He's a handsome devil.
Hi, Internet.
So you might recognize Blake if you follow our podcasts. And Blake and I did a radio show in Ketchikan, Alaska for how many years did we do that show?
A few years.
Yeah, it was I believe it was like four years. Mm-hmm. You came to me with an idea, and it was, I was fairly, we did pretty good in business there. We for our segment, we owned our space, I'd say, and Blake was a big part of my advertising. As a matter of fact, Blake was the first guy in the 28 years I was in the car business. He was the only person I ever let write copy for me. We always did it ourselves, and Blake kind of took that over for me, and we've been friends ever since. And Blake ran a large radio station in Southeast Alaska through Sitka and all of Southeast Alaska. Blake and I we shared some political aspirations as far as getting some things handled in our towns. We both served on several nonprofit boards. We were Rotarians together. We were United Way. We were chamber presidents. We were on
several points. We shared a big bottle of Tums.
Not only Tums, but we were. What was that committee that you were the chairman of? And we co-chaired it, I think, or I can't even remember. But it was the hairiest deal ever to come to Ketchikan, Alaska.
Jewelry Store Initiative.
Oh my gosh! Everybody, there was a group of what we called cave people, citizens against virtually everything, that wanted to shut down jewelry stores in a tourist town. And we're like, what do we care? Why would we dictate what business? Anyways, I brought Blake on today because he shared a story that literally jerked tears out of me today. And I happened to meet a guy, and we can't tell you his name because, let me tell a little story, and then I'm going to have Blake fill in a little bit. But he's from Korea, or not Korea, Vietnam. And, Blake, tell a little bit of the story. This is kind of your story, and,
So my neighbor in my neighboring office here has a market and deli, great little convenience store, kind of find anything that you need down there. And he moved in here a couple of years ago, and he started to, after several trips for sandwiches, he started to tell me a story. It was so compelling and just really a game-changing, inspirational story. So the story is my friend.
Before you do this, I want to set this up a little bit, because we're at a space in our country where virtually every day, there's not discussions, there's arguments. Virtually every day, there's some divisive thing that's on Facebook or some social media or on some news station trying to tear us apart. This guy is not of American origin. Neither is anybody. Nobody started here. We all came from somewhere else. I believe there's a right way and a wrong way to be an immigrant, and I'm all for the legal way. But this guy, to me, Blake, his story, he is a modern day non-Western John Wayne, as you called him earlier. Absolutely. He's a literal hero to his children, to his family, to not only his country, but ours. And he deserves to be here in America with independence tomorrow as equally as anybody I've ever met in my life.
No doubt.
And today I'm proud to be his friend, and I'm almost going into tears again, because this guy has served us sandwiches today, soup, wonton soup. He brought us a gift. I've been here, I don't know, a half a dozen times. He remembers me every time I come into town. But now you're going to hear his story. And if this doesn't make you feel good about Independence Day, go get a checkup from the neck up because you're not a well person.
Well, my friend, who we'll call for this example, Tony, was in the South Vietnamese Army. There's my Muddy Waters ringtone. Sorry for that. Thank you, Kimberly. He was in the South Vietnamese Army fighting arm in arm with American forces over there. And he worked his way up through the ranks from the lowest echelons to the highest heights of the South Vietnamese Army to be a Chinook helicopter pilot. And if you know anything about Chinook helicopter pilots, they've got a lot going on upstairs. So my friend fought past the point where American forces left Vietnam and was subsequently imprisoned by the communists, by the Viet Cong. Lived in prison where they treated them horribly.
Sometimes we don't know what happens after we go and liberate a country, or we lose a war in this case, and then we leave the people there. We vacate the area. And this is why a lot of us say we need to stick around a lot longer, because we're fighting for liberty, not just for Americans, but for the world.
Well, my friend, by the way, he's such a humble, modest guy. He would never go out of his way to tell me these things. Again, this took me many sandwiches to...
Could be a good marketing plan, though.
It could be, because I did eat many sandwiches. So he went on to tell me a story, and he was thrown in prison by the communists and treated horribly and forced to work in terrible labor camps where they didn't feed them, they didn't take care of them, anything like that. He worked so hard, and he watched his friends and his compatriots die in this prison, and he was about to die because he was so sick and so malnourished, and they sent him back to his village because the communists didn't run labor camps to be a hospice, so sent him back to his village to die, and he almost did. His family and his village, his wife, his little children, his mother, his father, nursed him back to health, and against all odds he did. He survived. He completely recovered, and he knew that he was either going to be sent back to that labor camp or killed, and so he did the only right thing to do, and that was escape the country. And he found himself at the United Nations, and because of the connection between the United States Armed Forces and his service there, he was granted citizenship in our country. But he wanted to get his wife and his children out. So he came to the United States and then immediately started volunteering with the United Nations at refugee camps all across Southeast Asia and just across Asia, the Philippines, all over the place, because he had heard that his wife and his children had escaped and then found themselves in a refugee camp. But there was no cell phones back there, so he didn't know exactly where. And so he began searching for 12 years, camp after camp after camp, looking for the light in his life, his children and his wife, and brand new babies, a lovely new wife. And he couldn't find him. Found his nephew after many years. So U.S. government calls up and says, your citizenship is, you need to use it or lose it. You need to get over here. And so he did. He comes over to the United States. He kind of gave up hope. Next day, he gets a call. We found your wife and your children. And they've been together now since that time. And they have been such a good contributor to American society, to American commerce. He's a successful business person. His children are brilliant surgeons, engineers, doctors. And they've just flourished in this country. And he is... to stay busy, he runs this great little shop, and he continues to do good things. And I got a great story. So we give each other static and wind each other up all the time. We're friends at this point. And he asked me, Blake, how you doing, one day? And I said, feeling old, tired, stressed out.
You told me this story one time when I was feeling bad, and I told you I was feeling old, stressed out, burnt out, and I could really use a shoulder to cry on. But you're flipping 3,000 miles away, buddy, And he tells me this grasshopper story that he got told.
So he told me that, he said, Blake, how you doing? I said, I'm feeling old, sick, tired, depressed. I'm ready to throw in the towel. I've had a tough day. And he said, oh, really? Old and tired and stressed out? When I was in prison by the communists in Vietnam, they didn't feed us. So one day I was out working and I found a big juicy grasshopper, and I ate that and I felt way better. So maybe you need to go find a grasshopper and you'll feel better.
You know, the truth
Kinda
is,
humbled me and put things into perspective.
I know, right? And the truth is, if you've ever read these stories or you've met a guy like Tony, you'll find out that they didn't want to feed these guys. They work them like, you know, as tough a labor as you could imagine, and then not nutrient them.
There's no account check. There's no checks and balances. Nobody's watching over the
Stupid management, right, of your product. If you're trying to get production out of something, you should fuel it. But it'd be like trying to get your tractor to or till a field and not putting fuel in the tank. After a while, it's going to quit. And they just ran through people like numbers. They were not people. They were sheeple, and they were just abusing them. And to sustain himself for as long as he did, and many of these people did this, they caught insects and ate them. That was the only protein they got. So imagine going through that alone, that physical atrocity, but then surviving something insurmountable, and then having the fortitude later, 12 years, to search for your family. If anybody deserves independence, it's somebody like that. That's to me the foundation of America, and it's embarrassing to watch these interviews where people don't even know why we're celebrating the 4th. Teach your kids. You know, tell them stories like this. And the next time you look at somebody and think they're different, you know, it might be somebody like Tony. You know, and just have a little bit of compassion in your heart and celebrate independence. Stop seeing color. Stop seeing differences other than, you know, their descriptors. They're, you know, it's pretty. I mean, dark skin is beautiful. Light skin is beautiful. It doesn't matter. We don't abuse people because of their hair color. Stop seeing their skin color. Stop seeing that he's Vietnamese. Who cares? I don't care. He's a cool dude, and I'm grateful to know him today. So that's our message to you today. We hope you have an amazing independence. From Blake Messer, Rob Skinner, and my wife. You can't see her pretty face over here because we don't put pretty with this. Not very often. Unless
we need a rose between the thorns.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, Kimberly, come over here and say it. No, she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to. She doesn't think she looks really hot today, but she does. Anyways, happy Independence Day. We love you guys. Hope the fireworks are everything you ever dreamed of. All right. See you later.